and stop transcription, sorry. Okay, we'll turn off the camera and we will start. Unfortunately, these days my internet isn't really good. That's why I turning off the camera. Wow, so as you see, we have so nice cookies in these pictures from start, but unfortunately, we also have cookies in JavaScript. That's why we will not eat some tasty and sweets, but we will discuss some new interesting and helpful features a little bit later. So what we will today we will go through some interesting topics, and first we will start with errors object. Hope you all sometimes noticed that in console you see some errors, and you should know that the errors is an object. You might get used to it, but important part of the core JavaScript that you should know for what you need, how you should deal with the errors, which type of errors exist, and how you can fix it or work with an errors in order to provide for your application less errors or additional paths to work to invoke your code. So when you see an error in a console, that is necessary that result of creating a new error object instance, throwing that, and not catching the error. What does it mean? So, for example, in these pictures, we will see a few different type of errors. And first of all, invalid array length. It means that this errors telling you that it's incorrect creating array. Then you see that the variable equilibrium isn't defined. Then this is a syntaxis error, additional type of error syntaxis. It should be, this is a string, so it should be at least in not in brackets, it should be in a apostrophe or other brackets. So also then the syntaxis error, but with other no, it's not a syntaxis. You cannot read property illusion of undefined, so it means that illusion hasn't represented this object, which is n object moment. We have an object choice. Inside here we have is, and illusion, this is like a string, right? So it's not an object, it's not a key, it's just a value of n key. So also here, URI error represented, so that's almost all syntaxis error. You could see them also the small descriptions here: range error, reference error, syntaxis, types, URI error, and aggregated error. So the most popular, and you will see really often, syntaxis error, type error, range, and reference errors. So how you can how to create errors? We can create them by ourselves. Sometimes it's needed, like for example in this example. Why we should do this? Sometimes if you have some, for example, in this example we see switch case cycle, and if, for example, we don't have any successful cases, we might show the message our user about new errors. So here also what you should know. We should know here and notice here that if we called the error, we should call this error with new, and such way you will create new errors using throw new and here function in this example, and you will see such result in the console. So we can throw an exception without an error object as well. Execution will stop and control will be passed to the first catch block in the call stack. If no catch block exists among caller's function, the program will terminate it. So as you could see in this example, we have not here. In this example, we have self-invoked functions, and inside these self-invoked functions, as error we see just a string. So also it might be just like string, an object, and you can call it in function in try catch. This is which is an additional tracking errors block. So let's go to the try catch and see how it works. Throwing errors is just the half of story, and if we would like to have some user-friendly code and also user-friendly behavior in the pages, we should use, and it's good practice to use try catch block code, which in order, and this block code will help you to catch error and handle it as you will decide. So please take a look at that in this presentation. You see some useful links here. And try catch, for example, here we see the full block of try catch, and here, for example, first, how works try catch? First, run try part, and here invoked function, self-invoked function is running, and first we will create white rabbit variables. Then we see that here there is an expression throw I can't do this, and then next line won't run, and then the next step will run here in catch, and we will see that in console you see that first notification about Trinity removes the bug, and then you will see you will see the welcome to the real world moment. So because this is a code, from this part, because we didn't call some new function, we just have here just a string. You will see that from this part we'll go into the catch. We will see this notification, and of course this, because this is after this block. This line is after the block try catch, so we see two lines. For example, if we see some errors here, we will see a bit later the example. For example, yes, let's try let's talk a bit about finally. So finally, this is an additional option, but the differences between try catch and after this finally, if you see in the code finally will runs anyway. So it means that try catch block is finished, and you see the notification that this block not notification, you could pass in finally some additional code which helps you to identify that try catch finished, and it will works with other logic without any errors, or you can add and finally block additional logic which help you to deal with an errors or in other way with a good quality code. So error being an object is useful because we can handle different errors in different ways. Also, error object can provide useful information for debugging in these properties. The most popular way we can use in catch error any others type of errors. For example, if we have some do you remember that in previous topic I've tried to explain that we have a request and different statuses? For example, here just the basic example of error with a name, and in a different type of these names we will see in console different messages. So such case more practical. You also might see with request and their status. For example, 200, this is okay. 400, it's unexpected error, and 500, this is server server error. So that's why you might define which status and show the correct and appropriate message to the user. So then usually we should here in this slide is asked basic question: should we use try catch? Why and where? So basically, each project decided how they will handle with an errors by by themselves, because it depends sometimes on frameworks. But usually you will see anywhere try catch somewhere in the code, because it's just useful and easier to communicate with errors and with other codes also too. But see that, for example, if you will not add some kind of code which will handle your errors, so you will see in the console for example, such errors, and it's not a good sometimes. Not all users, of course, run console or dev tool, but sometimes it's possible, and it's bad for tests. Also, it means that something has been broken and you need to fix it, or you need to provide additional scenario for the error. If you catch an error, you should, for example, recall again the request, something like this. So, Jason.
I'm sorry, Miss. I have a question about error object.
Yes.
On the slide number 13.
Sorry. This?
Number 16.
16?
Yeah. It's a try catch block allow the cat error and instead of terminating. So what is terminating?
Just give me a second. I will read this. So I think Moment, please. I'm still here. Yeah, so instead of terminating, it means so as I said, for example, once again, I've tried to provide you example with a request. That's usually it's a good option how to understand what is it, what in order to you need to use try catch, and what is it terminating? Terminating, it means that, for example, see. So it means that if you have here an errors, next code after the try catch block might not run. Sometimes it's happened. For example, you have some answer with you try to log into some website. You passed your username, password, and in response, they should provide you a result, right? It depends on the website, but let's imagine that the result will be okay in response, okay? So it means its status should be 200. But for example, something happened, you pass incorrect password, and as a result, you've got 400 errors. So in this case, if you have 100 errors, it means that the next code will not run. Okay, so after login form, you should see some example advertisement, some kind of model window with advertisement, and next code, maybe you should see some animation in a website. But because you cannot run in this message, for example, the next code will not run or will run with some errors without correct. What I'm trying to say is that sometimes if you, in this try block code, might be some additional actions with some data. For example, here, maybe I can moment, please. So this is just, this is small piece without any context and without any additional codes. But I would like to draw a little bit here. Okay. So let's imagine that here was some promise, and then this try catch in then in then part, okay, and here should be like this. Let's do something like this. And yeah, no, like here, and here I will add just a bit more context. For example, here should be some data. Oh, by the way, here data. This data, this is the JSON data, okay? And you do something with this data, for example, maybe it's too much details, but I try to explain you as I understand it. And here's some function which add new date to user. Let's imagine that this cycle will just add into the user's data some new date. So, and for example, here not only white rabbit, and we should do something with data here too, with data array. So, and if you catch some error here, for example, but and one more additional things, data for each, or let's use map, and here item dot date, and let's do something like this. Okay, something like this. So I'm talking that, for example, here we tried to do something with the data, and here's happened incorrect. Something incorrect with this data, or for example, this data was just empty. And in such case, you cannot map, for example, you cannot run. You cannot add new data for each user. It will be incorrect because of some reason or just business logic. So in this case, you just letting you know, and as a developer, that if there is no data, this is empty, for example, length is equal to 0, this is error, and we're going not, and here in this part, we will not see that here errors, and in console, we will not see that here should be an errors, like, you know, like in the previous our slides. So, yeah. Okay, in previous slide, you can see here, for example, if we go, here was an example that we invoke the function, and after we face with this through, we see in the console this error, okay? But in this case, but in this case, you didn't see these errors, and the code will not stop, definitely. That's what means instead of terminating. So instead of terminating, stopping running the code, you will see just some kind of notification that there is some mistake here. Or, for example, you might see not only notification, but in this place might be some additional changes with array data, and these changes will not which help you to deal with the to deal with this data and provide you. I hope it's clear, because I try to maybe focusing and not additional information, too much additional information. Is it sound clear or not?
But try cast. I mean the terminate happen to the on of our code, or that the block where we put try and cast. Like if we put try and cast in a if, is it terminate the if block code, or it will prevent the all the code we write?
Sorry, not sure that I understand your question.
Like in the example, I see that try and cast is written in the global scope.
Yep.
So if we terminate all the code below, like console.log, welcome to real world, right? If
yes.
not had, if the card doesn't exist, it will prevent to run the final console.log.
So if we so we have an exception here, and because we have an exception here, next code will not run, definitely.
No, the last console.log in the global scope, welcome to the real world.
Yeah, it will run because it's not in try catch block.
That's true. So if we don't have the cart keyword, don't have the cart here, the console block, welcome to reward still run. Yeah.
If we don't have a catch here, I see. You are asking about something like this, right? Yes, if we don't have a try catch, we see only an errors and we will not see the last line, this console log, because here was an error and this code will terminate.
Yes, but if like okay, use this example. If we put the invoke function inside another block, so there is terminate the console log outside, because the function and the console log now in the same scope, so it will terminate.
Are you in which block? I'm this not sure. In which block you provide to cover this function in self-invoke function?
Because now we have a function and a console log welcome to reward in the same scope, right?
Are you talking about scope and connection with scope and the throwing exception?
I think maybe I need to revamp my question later, and I will send you that a bit small later. Yeah.
Okay, but the main difference is here that, for example, try catch just helping you not stopping, not terminate your code. Yes, just run and continue. You just, if you have here some errors, you go into catch block and you handle with your errors. You do something here with this error, but other code, you first of all, you will not see that here was an error, and next you will not. You continue to work with other code.
Yeah,
and
okay.
yeah, you might provide me, just text me your question. Maybe in a written form I will understand, okay?
Yeah, it's okay. And it has another question about finally.
Yeah.
I don't know what case we will use finally.
Was when we use finally, right?
Yes.
So, as for example, here mentions that you can use finally blocked if you have other cases. So, but you know, it's like in the promises, I think, that it's optional. You might use finally block or might not use. It depends on the situation and what you need to do with your code. But the finally block will run definitely in any way.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay, right? Yeah. So this is like you do something with your code, and you do one action, two actions, three actions, first action, second action, third action, and finally I will do with these actions the first action, which will be finally and should run anyway. That's how you can think about it. So here. So it means that in try catch block, you can, for example, add. So for example, here should be let a is equal to run, right? So as a result, you need to have the value for a is 4. So it means here might be, you might add here for example, 2, and as a result you will 4, but maybe here in try block you faced with some errors, and then in catch block you will add, it depends on which type of errors, but for example, errors, it's these errors not provide us an option to add to A2. So, and then finally you will definitely in finally block you will add 2 to the A variable, and this will be as a result, as a final result. So this block in this code, it just means that finally will run definitely anyway, and it should be optional. It might be optional. You can use finally or not. It's not an error. In this code, this is like you could use for some cases, some exceptions, and so on. So, shall we go?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you know something about JSON? Maybe some of you would like to share with us with some information about JSON, where we can see the JSON. Maybe someone of you would like to tell other words, few words.
I think JSON, it looked like it had the syntax like object in JS.
Yes, you're right. It's pretty similar to an object or array, but yeah, in general, it has a little bit different view. So JSON, this is the standard of JavaScript object notation. We use JSON because it's weight less than other variants of data. So I'm talking about, for example, if you would like to exchange a data with some server, and it will be not JSON, it will be in some other format. It might be hard, or it might be heavy data. But JSON, it's very lightweight data. So what I should here, you might read, but I would like to highlight such things that JSON is language independent, and yes, you use them to send the data not only between the computers, with server and computers, and so on, so on. So why use JSON? The JSON format is synthetically similar to the code for creating JavaScript object. As you could see here, an example, yeah, it's some kind of object, but no, it's just JSON. Please take a look that here we have, guys, really sorry, I forgot how it called, double brackets, not brackets. You know, sometimes we face with such words which and they are cannot we cannot remember them, even seeing them not in the first time. So it's called quotes. Definitely, usually, and always it should be in quotes, not only in single quotes or double quotes. Here in double quotes, and all elements. So in JavaScript, we will see just a bit later, but for example, in JavaScript, it will be without any quotes. So I'm talking about employee's first name and last name, usually in JavaScript, not in quotes, right? And if we add double quotes or single quotes, it will become a JSON file. But If we use without quotes, this is just like JavaScript object. With quotes is JSON file, and all data here should be in, for example, strings should be here in brackets, not brackets, in quotes. Also, it might be numbers, might be null, it might be array object. What else? That's all, I think. So how we can work with JSON files? JavaScript has a built-in function for covering JSON string into JavaScript objects. So we can use JSON parse. Just for example, I text JSON. You just try to copy. Oh, sorry. Copy this example from the presentation and run in console, and you will see that if you try this code in a console, for example, this, let's go to the browser, and this, and run it, yeah, you should see just a simple object. That's how you can convert JSON to a JavaScript object. So we should have another option how we can convert JavaScript object to JSON file, to JSON data, right? Because we should exchange the data between server or different computers. So, and for this, JSON.stringify function help us. So here will be just vice versa result, that we had an object, and using stringify function we will get this JSON file. So I will just copy this, and you should see pretty similar, but something like this. It's always in line, might be in line, and it will be in line, especially in respond of request. And you should use JSON parse in order to have a correct Java object, and then you will see this, the tree view for object. Then syntax rule. Usually it's in a pair, key value always in quotes, and curly brackets hold object, square brackets hold arrays. Yes, data separated by commas. So here if we add not only name, we will add, for example, surname, we should text comma and text double quotes surname, double quotes, it's not semicolon. Yeah, it's semicolon called, right? So with data, and see that the differences between JavaScript. This is just object. This is just JSON for JSON format data. So values, as I mentioned, it might be string, number, object, array, boolean, and null. In JavaScript, in JavaScript, data represented is all of these values, and also function, date, and undefined. Why we cannot represent data in JSON? Because data in JSON will be string or a number. You should talk about it in the next lesson, but just know that it's usually represents as string, and a string with let's take a look. Date JSON. So I will show you for example, this variance you could see definitely in JSON file, and also and also there is such format ISOR. You might read about it. This format, and this format might be converted to some big number. I will leave this link, and don't remember exactly how it's called. Is it? And not about this. No. It's happened because it's not my part of job to tell you about it. So it should looks another option. It should looks like a number, some amount of number, some set of number, big actually set, something like this. And you should convert this data to using some functions to the correct data, which will looks like this. So that's all. And let's go to our presentation. Go back. Like this. Next slide. I would like to show you just how XML looks and how JSON looks. Example, and we can see that they mentioned, the meaning is the same, but first of all, here more readable, I can say, and easier to read, right? Here a lot of pairs with the values. And XML, I don't know, is it used somewhere in real website or not? In some additional, it calls frameworks or IDE. We might face with it, but this is, I'm talking about face with XML, but it's really, really rare situation. So some of you heard about Postman. Maybe you work with it already. Unfortunately, I didn't install in this computer Postman, but I provided you official source. You can go to the postman.com and download and try to work with it. But here, the main functionality, this tool help you to work with requests. And usually we use JSON. JSON we use to get some data from the server, for example, like this. It's about a status, some additional information, or it might be some information about users, and so on, so on. So we can exchange using JSON with server. So it means that we can, in request, we should provide the JSON data to the request body. You might see it in the browser, usually when you go to, for example, here. And for this purpose, we use network function, not network tab. And here, we know that here's a lot of any requests. And type, we will filter. Maybe we will see some document, not like this, JPEG, text, no. So here, this is like a function. The object seems like should be. And the result you always, anyway, even, like this. What was that? Oh, like this. This is a JSON object. usually you should scroll down and see request body here, somewhere here, and your result you could see in preview here. You will see it's like an object, and in response here, just simple example. Okay, so I really recommend you to try to work with a Postman, because this is basic tool how to maintain or test requests to understand which data provide you some server. It's really good if project in which you work have some documentation about their requests, response, and so on, but sometimes it might be not represented in your project, and then it's easily to go and check what's happened in the Postman with your request with the website. Here you would see the answer, preview, row, it will be like a line, preview will be like a data, and pretty too. Here you should text some keys value, it means request body. You just press body and provide here some keys when values. So go into the cookies. Cookies is a string, contains a semicolon separated list of key and pair values. Cookie are transferred in a HTTP header. Yeah, you could check such if something mentions that it's transferred in HTTP header, go to console, and in the network section you will see some different examples. And cookie transferred in a HTTP header between the server and the client. After a cookie was set, it will be stored in a browser for a special time. And the cookie then will be sent to the server with every subsequent request, even with request for images. So what does it mean? It means that cookie is a data which is stored in your computer in small files, and when a web server has sent a web page to a browser, the connection is shut down. The connection is shut down, and the server forget everything about the user, but the cookie will remember this information. And when you will go to this website again, you could see that, for example, that the information about user, you will see in this page again about your username and your password, something like this. So what's next? Important thing here, just in this slide, just shown only one option about the application. Yes, that's how you can work with the cookies, and even you can take a look at the cookies here. For example, in Stack Overflow, you could see the name value. This is like a pair. And here's some additional information. Sometimes it might be, for example, this GA, you could see in a lot of websites. This is Google Analytics. And here is some special key which provide this website some analytics data. So that's where you can take a look at this data, and sometimes if you would like to clear some, not store all data, but you would like to clear it, you might press clear, and you see that it was cleared a little bit. Here clear, and once again all cookies will be you will need accept again. So let's So also this is for storage, this is for cookie. Session storage is a line here, and this is a local storage. The tab call application. So cookie attributes. Different attributes can be set for a cookie. For example, path, domain, max age, expires, secure, HTTP only, and so on. Maybe I can tell you the most important, and you could see often them. This is a path domain, and about other information here, as always, you could see some official source. How cookie accessing from JavaScript, cookie can be get set with JavaScript as well. So it's not like you can, one moment. So you can provide some data with you can get the data from cookies, but you cannot rewrite them on something like this. This is just providing access to your JavaScript, and you cannot once again, how to formulate the thoughts. So you can work with JavaScript with the cookies, and there are different ways. You can work using some functions, getting and checking some cookies and so on. I really recommend you to see some official sources like this, or in Web3 school. There they have a lot of examples how to work with cookies. So about local and session storage.
Sorry, I have a question about cookies.
Yes.
When I visit some website, they ask me something about the permission to use cookie.
Yeah.
What they are trying to do?
Good question. Let me think. Maybe I will. Not sure that I can explain it to you right now, but what they can do. First of all, save some additional data into your computer. Just a moment, give me example, maybe.
I think the more specific thing that's what developer can do with that permission.
Just a moment. Cookie has a lot of information, different information, but what I would like to think about it. So, for example, web storage and session storage. Okay, let's try to explain what is this, and then we will combine them with cookies. Okay, it will be maybe easier for me to explain what the differences. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
So what is okay? The web storage API provides mechanism by which browser can securely store key value pairs. Different storages exist. They are session storage, and this storage. This is a storage only for live only with some sessions, including the reward pages. For local storage, does the same things, store the data, some kind of data, but persist even when the browser is closed and reopened. So it means, in the session storage, if you close the website, the session will die, but local storage might remember this data, and you can use some data from the local storage in your code. So the property which has session and local storage, length key, get item, set item, remove item, and clear. Here's such examples. So, and I would like to provide you about, to tell you about, cookie-less storage API. So cookie-less, weight-less, right? Less than local storages. Data live until the expiration date. And for local storage, that live until the session will die. Storage have some events for local, and session storage have some storage event. They have a little bit different methods to write and read, because in cookies you can set and get data. The main differences between local and session storage that the cookie might be automatically sent to the server. Doesn't rely on JavaScript for cookie, and the local storage works only with JavaScript. And one more interesting fact. So once again, local and session storage will not send each time on a server, okay, from your web storage. So they will not send each time to the server in each request. So it means that we can store more data in our browser. So that's why we have here amount 5 megabyte, but we can usually by default it's 2 megabytes, but we can change it in our settings for a browser. You should know that, for example, in Chrome, maybe you will face with it that in Chrome you might change this from 2 megabytes to, I don't remember how much, unfortunately, but usually I change it to some larger amount. For example, in so once again, I think about that someone of them cannot manipulate with an object which is stored. So cookies, you can set the cookies into the HTTP headers. So that's why how it could formulate. So using cookie, you might manipulate with the data in the requests using HTTP headers. But for example, with local storage, you cannot do this, okay? And so the one more interesting thing that the storage, how to say tie, or it depends on sources. It means in domain, in protocol, maybe port, and it means that different protocols or domains define different objects, stored objects, and they cannot get the data of each other. So it means that for local storages in each site, websites will be different, okay? So what about your question about cookies? Accept all cookies. It seems like I can't answer you right now. Give me, I will text you in the chat, okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
It's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. but one moment, I will text you your question. So basically, I think that when we accept this cookie, it means that we store in our computer some keys for some Google Analytics. They collect our, the story, how we're going through all links in this website and such similar information. Maybe something additional. I think it might be also depends on each website, but I need to take a look and take a look at this closer. So basically that's all, but here in this slide mentioned such interesting question, a typical interview question, what to store in cookies and local storage, and typical wrong answer is username. Why? Maybe some of you can think about it. It's an interesting question, and maybe some of you might answer on this question. Why the wrong answer is store username. Yeah, see about the cookies. Usually server-side concerns, they send and analyze them. But yeah, I don't remember other, what accept other cookies. So it's not secure to store username and other your data, personal data about this website in cookies or local storage, because for example, local storage might save your data for a long time, and you just can go to for example, some of your friends go to the website and log in there using his credential. So, and after he did some actions there, he log out from this website, and in the next time you log in by your by your credentials. So it means that if this site unsecure or something have some malicious actions or intentions, it might just stole your data, stole your login data, and do with them anything. So it's unsecure to save your username and password and such sensitive data in your storage and cookies. So that's all. I will stop the recording.